The Giants and John Harbaugh made their most important coaching staff additions on Sunday when we were all snowed into the house when they hired defensive coordinator Dennard Wilson and special teams coordinator Chris Horton. Harbaugh's not done yet, though, ladies and gentlemen. Ken McKusick of Film Study Ravens hops on to give us a look into what Big Blue could potentially look like under the Baltimore Giants coaching staff. Ken, thanks for hopping on with this. We'll call them the Baltimore Giants because it's like Harbaugh is bringing all his boys up here to East Rutherford. And we'll start with Dennard Wilson. Brian Dable wanted him as DC back in 2025, but he took the Titans' DC job instead. Turned them around right away. He was also with Harbaugh in Baltimore in 2023 as DB's coach. So what do you remember most about Coach Wilson and the Ravens secondary that season, and what do you think about this hire for the Giants defense?
So let's start with Harbaugh for a second. A lot to unpack that you gave me right. That Harbaugh put in a list apparently of 24 names that of people he wanted to interview from the Ravens, and they had to be released or whatever to do so. So he's going to pick apart the Ravens coaching ranks. At least that's what I expect. And not only the coaching ranks, it may be people in the building otherwise who have a adjacent role to football operations that he'll get as well. So maybe some analytics people, maybe others. Anyway, that Harbaugh is going to seriously dig in. But as far as Dennard Wilson goes, he led the secondary for the Triple Crown defense in 2023. They led the NFL in points per game, sacks, and turnovers under Mike Macdonald. Got a huge season out of Ronald Darby, of all people, that year. So they hired two people. They brought in two free agent corners. Ronald Darby, who we thought was completely done. He'd been benched twice the previous year in Denver. And Rock Yassin, who had some success with the Colts. They thought Rock Yassin would start. Rock Yassin total dud. Ronald Darby was in the top 5 in terms of yards per target of all cornerbacks in the NFL that season, earned a big contract with the Jags thereafter. The season also saw the emergence of Kyle Hamilton as the top safety in the game, and was very dominant as a whole. Wilson went to Tennessee in 24 and 25. Honestly, from a DVOA perspective, his teams didn't do any better than the previous Tennessee administration had them. They're very similar in 24, and they declined slightly in 25 in terms of DVOA. He's 43. He played safety in the NFL, a guy who I really respect as a coach. I think he'll do a very solid job. I don't think he's a total game changer at defensive coordinator the way some other guys will be. We'll see how he runs it.
Well, I like what you said about how he got the most out of Ronald Darby, because there's a lot of Giants fans that are listening to that right now. And, there's just a light bulb that went off in their heads like, well, if he got that out of Ronald Darby, maybe he can get something out of Tay Banks, as we wait to see what John Harbaugh and this staff is going to do with Tay Banks, that former first-round draft pick. And then also the light bulb goes off where you talk about Kyle Hamilton. They drafted Tyler Nubin in the second round 2 years ago, and he kind of regressed this past season as opposed to his rookie season. So there are two names, a first round and a second round pick right there that Giants fans are hoping to get the most out of. And you're hoping that a John Harbaugh and his culture and now a Dennard Wilson-led defense can get the most out of these two guys if they choose to hang on and keep both of these guys in-house. But let's flip to the offensive side of the football now, because all eyes right now are on if former Ravens offense coordinator Todd Monken is going to get that Browns head coaching job. Reports say that Harbaugh wants him to be offensive coordinator here if he doesn't get it. You watched Todd Monken cook for 3 years in Baltimore. In fact, we've even talked about what that offense looks like. So what do you think a Giants offense will potentially look like under Todd Monken? And what do you think that dynamic and relationship will be like between both he and Jackson Dart?
All right, a lot to go there for starters. Again, let's talk about Harbaugh and Monken. In last year, they had some back and forth in the media with each other, which is really strange. They clearly, Harbaugh is tremendously loyal to a lot of his people, but Monken apparently is very loyal to Harbaugh as well, and wants the OC job there in New York, which obviously be a big feather in his cap too. But the two of them are going at it like an old married couple at midseason about the advice that Harbaugh gives Monken over the headset on the offensive side. Anyway, not to go too deep into that, Monken and what he brought to the Ravens offense was a little more 11 personnel, but the Ravens still remain the heaviest team in the entire NFL with 1.85 tight ends plus fullbacks plus OL6 per play. So I know people talk 12, 13, 22, etc. Ravens use a whole bunch of all that stuff to get to 1.85 tight ends plus fullbacks plus offensive line per play. To put that in perspective, that means you only have, since you have one running back every single play, basically, you've used up 2.85 and you only have 2.15 wide receivers per play. Now, that's not very many by current NFL standards, where 11 personnel is the predominant offensive formation. But Monken certainly adapted to two tight end usage, and that's where a lot of the Ravens' strength was. Tremendous success with the tight ends in 23 and 24. Lamar Jackson and the other Ravens quarterbacks included had 143.5 passer rating, throwing to the tight ends. That included 30 touchdowns and 1 interception. It's a historic 2-year run for tight ends. Only Gronkowski and Hernandez for, I think it's 09 and 10, or even close in terms of all-time couple of consecutive years. But that dropped off to 91.3 in 2025. And all of the Ravens tight end and fullback contracts, all 4 of them, came due at the same time. So the Ravens obviously are in a position where they have to make some changes. The Ravens dropped off in terms of drive success rate in 2025. A lot of that was a function of Lamar Jackson's injuries and the resulting loss of misdirection, which is really what fuels the Ravens offense, is Lamar Jackson running the read option, along with a number of other misdirection elements that they have in terms of counters, jet motion, etc., that really throw off opposing defenses, get linebackers moving in the wrong direction so they can make ground in the middle of the field typically. They also had some weak interior offensive line play in 25, and that's something the Ravens need to address, but obviously Monken is going to inherit a Giants offensive line, which is probably in a little bit better shape right now, and that should be pretty good for him. I'm not sure if Dart is capable of reading leverage, well, certainly in the same way Jackson does, because he's an athlete in his own class as far as reading the opponent's leverage. But I'm not sure if they really even want Dart to try and read leverage and run the read option the same way. So that may not be the best possible use, but I'm sure Monken is a very adaptable coach from his various times previously, and will find the best use of his personnel, whether that be Scadaboo or the offensive line, Dart, and of course Blake Neighbors.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting right there, because Dart's development is priority up here, up in New York. But let's say Monken takes the Cleveland job. It's been reported that Harbaugh would actually kind of give that OC job to his friend and running backs coach, Willie Taggart. I know he's interviewed for the job, obviously, as a condition of the Rooney Rule. But what do you think a Giants offense could look under Willie Taggart?
So Willie Taggart, anyway, though, 3 years as the Ravens running back coach. The offense is known for a very high success rate on running backs. As I said, fueled by the Lamar Jackson stuff. Lamar Jackson's improved every running back he's played with. So Taggart hopefully is somebody who will, be positioned to look for running back success rate as a key metric. And that means you stay ahead of the sticks and you stay on schedule to get first downs. That's the way to win snap count and do a lot of the things that the Ravens did well when their offense was at the top. One interesting possibility I'm thinking of is that Patrick Ricard might be someone the Giants pick up at fullback if Taggart takes over. It could be if Monken takes over too, for that matter. And that is a scary potential combination of Ricard and Scadaboo in the same backfield.
And you've already seen a lot of Giants fan pages and people out there kind of list Ricard as someone that they want to the Giants to target in free agency. And I think that'd be great, especially with the way I know the Giants run, like, a lot of 2 tight end sets, but having that pure fullback in there, we haven't seen the Giants have one in quite some times. And when you go back to like the days of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Derek Ward, and Brandon Jacobs, and Ahmad Bradshaw, the tight end, the fullback at that time, Madison Hedgecock, was an absolute bruiser. And I feel like Ricard is Hedgecock 2.0 because he can catch the football out of the backfield as well. Let's move to special teams, man, because special teams has been a roller coaster ride for the Giants and for the fan base. Harbaugh's brought his special teams coordinator since 2019, Chris Horton, with him to fill that same position. So fill in the blank. The Giants special teams have the potential to be a top blank unit with Horton as coordinator.
Yeah, top 10 unit, certainly. Horton is not the only reason for the Ravens' special team success. That also is Randy Brown, their kicking coach, who's absolutely outstanding. I'm fearful that he might end up with the Giants too, but we'll see how that plays out. Horton has been the Ravens' special teams coach since 2014, so that's a very long stint with one team. 7 years as the coordinator. He succeeded the legendary Jerry Rosburg, who was an assistant head coach and kind of a in-game strategic assistant head coach with Harbaugh before he retired. The Ravens have been always near the top of special teams DVOA, with the exception of 2024. And Tucker has been in decline for 3 years before he was finally out this winter under the various allegations and whatnot. He returned, the Ravens returned to the top of the rankings in 2025, with Stout earning AP1 honors as a punter, but he also is probably the best holder in the NFL. The Giants don't get those players with this coaching change, but they certainly can improve the players that they do have. So I don't think the top 10 is out of range. Having the kicking coach and the entire kicking department, and frankly, the entire recruiting kicking department for the entire league, is what you get with Randy Brown. So that's something that the Ravens have really benefited from over the past few years. And Will Lutz and Steve Hauschka and a lot of the most accurate kickers of all time came through Randy Brown's camps in terms of what they did. So you don't get him. At least I hope you don't get him. But Horton was originally blocked for interviews. He was one of the few people that the Ravens said, no, you can't take him. Over the weekend, they released their block on him and allowed him to go. And we think that Anthony Levine, his number 2, might move up to be the special teams coordinator here.
Well, with all the woes and losses that we've had up here because of the kicking situations and guys being hurt and, international guys coming in missing extra points and field goals, Randy Brown, Chris Horton, just come on down. They'll eat for free early here. All we have to do is see some stability in the kicking position. Kim, appreciate you hopping on with this, man. You really gave us a lot of insight on what the Giants could potentially look like. I know Coach Harbaugh has a lot of the staff to still round out, but I feel like it's going to be like a mini Baltimore up here in terms of the names that are going to be up in this facility. And I mean, you gave the man $100 million and the ability to make personnel decisions. I don't blame him for wanting to bring, his guys, the people that he knows. So, Ken, appreciate you hopping on with us.
Anytime, Brandon.